Welcome to Sales Training for Podcasters, the podcast designed to better your sales process. We'll be sharing tools, tips, and techniques, whether you love sales or hate sales. If you've got a product or service to sell and a podcast, you've come to the right place. Now, here's your hosts, podcast strategists Doug Sandler and JJ Flizanes.
Today's guest is a seller of selling. So Brandon Bornancin, he worked for iconic companies like IBM and Google. He's a two-time seven-figure entrepreneur, an expert sales trainer, sales author, sales speaker, and host of Sales Secrets from the Top 1%. With over $100 million sold to his credit. We're talking all things sales today. Welcome, Brandon, to Sales Training for Podcasters.
Hey, Doug, thanks so much for having me. Really excited to be here and a huge fan of, you and what your family's done for the sales community with Sandler training and everything. So really excited to be here today.
Thanks, Brandon. I appreciate that very, very much. And I know as I was going out to scour the Apple podcast hierarchy for people that have successful shows, people that have a lot of reviews, people that have positive energy, your show stood out because I listened to a couple of episodes. I listened to an episode with Jeffrey Gitomer and Nathan Lotka.
Awesome.
And I appreciate that Nathan gave you 9 freaking minutes. It was great. I saw that. It was like the world's shortest episode.
Dude, I ransacked him in New York at an event. So
it sounded like you were live at an event with him.
The funny thing, 2 hours before that, I was winning Tech Company of the Year. This is wild. So I interview Ryan Serhant, $1 million listing broker. Everyone knows him. Bravo TV, Ryan Serhant, the $1 million New York agent, one of the best along the sides of Frederick Eklund. He's on $1 million listing New York. So I fly into New York. We interview him for the book, this Sales Secrets book. And then we crushed that. And then that evening, I was actually winning my company, Seamless.ai, was winning Best Tech Company of the Year. Right in between the Ryan Serhant interview, I locked in an interview with Nathan Lotka, how to be a capitalist without having any money or whatever. He's like, I could do it for a few minutes. You got to meet me at this event that I'm hosting. So we rushed to his event, interview him because he just came out with his book. Then we had to rush to New Jersey to win this award. And we got into traffic to drive. So after we crushed the Lotka thing, it was 9 minutes, super short and sweet. He's a little interesting. He's a great dude, but he comes off a little
he's abrasive,
arrogant.
Man. He's abrasive and arrogant. But that's his brand, though. It's like that seems to be like what he's all about. And no offense to Nathan. I mean, I think he's a good guy, but it's like if you can get beyond the arrogance and the shortness, the curtness, and it's like directness also. I mean, it's like I remember when I was on his show, he was like pounding me for numbers, and I'm like, I don't know these fucking numbers. I don't know them. But anyway,
Yeah, it's funny because he'll pound people, and then when you try to pound him, he'll get reserved about it. But either way, he's awesome, and I agree. I've just learned to not be arrogant, not judge people, try to learn something from everyone. Long story short, wrap up his interview. We jump in a cab to go from New York to this award ceremony in Jersey, like Hoboken or something. I forget where it was at. We're stuck in traffic, couldn't get there, and I'm supposed to be on stage in 2 hours. We call a helicopter company. We skirt off the highway, jump in a private helicopter. It was the first time I was on an impromptu private helicopter ride. And we get to the event 20 minutes before we go on stage, win Tech Company of the Year, and then fly home the next day. And it was the most epic 24 hours of my life.
Hey, so good for you. And it sounds like, again, listening to your show, a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of really positive energy. And I think personally that makes for someone that can be ultra successful in selling because nobody wants to be around somebody that's a little bit, negative Nancy or has a negative attitude at all. So talk to me about the top 1%. There's obviously some common traits that these top 1%ers have when it comes to selling. And you being in that field, in that world also, tell me a little bit about what you think makes that top 1%.
Yeah. And luckily with Sales Secrets, one of my newest books, over 650 pages, 1,000 sales secrets with interviews of 150 of the top 1% sales experts. So you get that book on Amazon, #1 bestseller.
Yep, we'll put a link in the show notes for not only that book, but for the whole range of 4 books that you have out there in the market right now. So thanks.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So the biggest thing that I would say is people always forget 3 fundamental truths to sales. People are always judging, and by the way, I can't believe schools, colleges, mom, dads don't teach people that if you can master sales, you will be the richest person in the world, limitless, uncapped, unstoppable potential. It kills me that they don't teach that, but it's okay. We'll change it. 3 universal truths why people think that salespeople are slimy, shady, blah, 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 blah. Number 1, the reason why so many salespeople struggle to sell is because they don't believe in what they're selling. Like, you have to have all in belief that your product will transform the person's life that is getting your product. And if you don't believe that, you will compete against a salesperson that believes wholeheartedly in their product and service over you. They will outsell you with passion, confidence, tonality, belief, case study, social proof, you name it, and you'll just get lapped. So I think number 1, salespeople fail and aren't part of the top 1% because they don't believe in what they're selling. Like, all right, if I was to sell you Seamless AI, which finds emails and cell phones for everyone in the world, I wholeheartedly believe for you to survive and thrive during COVID, for you to survive and thrive during good times and bad times, you need the dials and emails to every single person in the world that you need to sell to. Like, I fundamentally, wholeheartedly believe you're one list away, a list of contacts. You are one list away from the life you want, the family you want, the vacations you want, the houses, the cars, the sales, the income, the financial freedom.
It's obvious to say that you believe in what you do. So that is absolutely number 1. And I wholeheartedly, again, believe that in that also. You have got to believe in it. You can't sell something that you're not thoroughly committed to or believe in. What's number 2?
Yep. Number 2 is everyone forgets that there are people out there that desperately need, want, deserve, care for, and would die for your products and services.
Right now,
this second, there are people that need, want, deserve your products and services, but you tend to forget that when you're making 20, 50, 100, 500 calls, sending hundreds of emails, reaching out to hundreds of people on LinkedIn. We all forget after you do like 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 of those, you instantly forget about, holy shit, I need to keep going because there are people that deserve, need, want desperately my products and services today. And I think that second truth is what separates the top 1% sales secrets from the bottom. So here's the book, by the way.
Yep.
This thing's thick.
It is a thick book. And those of you that aren't watching on video right now, Brandon is holding up his book, and it's at least a 4-pound book.
Yeah. It's a big book.
It's a big book, man.
So that's secret number 2 to the top 1%. And then you want to know what secret number 3, any questions about secret number 2?
No, man, it's you're going down the right path because, I look at it and think we have a responsibility, an obligation to put in our potential customers' hands the products and services that we have in our arsenal. And if we don't, we are doing them a disservice. So I 100% agree with you. You got to believe in what you do. You have got to be able to talk about your product and service with certainty. And there are people that are out there that must have your product or service in order to have a quality life. I 100% believe that as well. All right, what's number 3?
Number 3, you have to be willing to do
whatever it
takes. So this is my newest book, Master the Habits to Transform Your Business, Relationships, and Life. To achieve massive success, you have to do whatever it takes.
All right. So let me ask you questions about that, though. And I know you probably have a deeper dive into that. But when you say whatever it takes, to what degree? Some people are like, I'm not willing to work that weekend. I want to spend family time. I'm not willing to invest in my business until the business starts paying me. Talk to those people that are out there. When you say whatever it takes, to what limit is there to whatever it takes, or there is no limit to whatever it takes?
No, whatever it takes means there is no limit to anything. It means under any circumstance, whatever it is you need to do, new skills, new strategies, new investments, new partners, new mentors, new hires, mainly new investments of time, money, energy, capital, effort, hours worked, you name it, you will do whatever it takes, no matter what. Like, for example, if I wanted to launch a software company and I had to go raise millions of, I've raised tens of millions of venture capital funding. No point in time do you want to raise millions of dollars. No point in time do you want to cold call, email, social sell, and prospect thousands of customers, right? The top 1%, they just do whatever it takes. Okay, what do I need to do? Then I will research all the blogs, the books, the shows, the podcasts. I will pay people 10 grand, 1 grand, 5 grand, 25 grand, 100 grand to tell me what I need to do. Masterminds. Like it's doing whatever it takes, finding the things, the people, the expertise that you need to get to where you want to go, the strategy, and then execute the strategy. Whether it's acquiring new customers, filling the pipeline, building the lists, fundraising, marketing, entrepreneurship, whatever. And like anything I've done has just been like when I wanted to write books, I read 10 books and then I wrote every day. It's like, if I want to write a book, okay, I have to do whatever it takes to write a book. Okay, right. Well, the first step is to figure out what's the strategy. Go read books about people writing books and what's the fastest way to do that. And then it's like most of them are like, you just got to write every day. And I'm like, fuck, I don't want to do that. That sucks.
Right.
But guess what? Next day, I'm waking up, 5 a.m., I'm writing. For sales, oh shit, I don't want to build a list of 500 people today. I don't want to make 100 calls. I don't want to send 100 emails. I don't want to send 50 LinkedIn messages today. Well, guess what? If your quota is $1 million, $5 million, $10 million, $20 million, you've got 265 sales days in the year. Divide your quota by the sales days. That gives you the revenue per day that you need to generate. And then how many appointments does it take and deals does it take to hit that revenue number per day? And then how many calls, emails, and social touches does it take to book the appointments, which the appointments would lead to the sales daily revenue target?
Reverse engineering your sales process is a really great way to tell you what activities that you have to go through and what action items you need to take in order to be successful. Because it really isn't a guessing game. You know, when you know those numbers, you know, it's just like we've done some launches, and when we run Facebook ads, we know we have to invest X amount of dollars in Facebook ads to get $2. If our average cost per lead is $2, we know if we want 500 people to show up, we know how much we need to invest to get those 500 people to show up. So for us, it is just a process. But how come people complicate the process? Because their head oftentimes gets in the way. The relationship with money and selling gets in the way. Why is that so? Can you just give me your, from a guy that's, it sounds like you live, eat, breathe, and sleep selling, and you're totally comfortable in that world. What is it that why don't they get that?
I think it's twofold. Yeah, I learned this from my family, but the first one's paralysis by analysis. We let too much thinking and it's got to be perfect and strategy and bullshit get in the way of taking action. After reading a few books, it was like, let's just use it with the writing of the books. After reading a few books on writing a few books, it was blatantly obvious. All of them were saying you have to write every day.
Yep.
I don't need to go from 3 books read to 10 books read to figure out, okay, I just need to write every day. Like, yeah, I'll learn more strategies, but it's like, dude, tomorrow, don't fucking think about more shit that you need to do. Just tomorrow, the one thing I need to write every day. With sales, it's like the one thing, I just need to prospect and fill the top of the funnel every day. Mm-hmm. If I'm filling the funnel, if I'm building a massive list, selling to that list, booking the list, and closing that list every day, I'll be super successful and join the top 1%. I think paralysis by analysis, we want all the answers before we get started. We want to have it all figured out. Dude, anything I've ever accomplished, generating $100 million in sales, raising nearly $100 million in venture capital funding, closing tens of thousands of customers, building 2 8-figure companies. I don't know what the hell I'm doing every single day of the week. I know nothing. Do I try to research and find the answers? Yes, but I just take action. And I know that if I fail or I fuck up, I'm going to do whatever it takes to rebound and figure it out. So it doesn't matter. That's number one. Number two, people have this scarcity mindset, which I never got. My mom was poor. She was abused. And growing up, she left her family when she was 14, 15. So she was very broke, taking care of herself, moved into her own place at the age of 15, whatever, worked 2 jobs, but they were very low collar, low paying, minimum wage jobs, right? So my mom lived in this super scarcity, coupon, save every dollar, don't make a lot of money, just work really hard and save every penny. And my dad was the exact opposite. He's like, I want to make a ton of money. I don't want to live in scarcity. I hate living in scarcity. So I got to see both sides of the spectrum with my family, and I just hated the way that my mom operated. I don't think I think in expansion, I think in investments. So too many people live in this scarcity, save, when in reality, you cannot save yourself to success. You cannot save you're going to save yourself to death. Oh yeah, if I save X amount of dollars every year, by the time I'm 85, I'm a millionaire. It's dude, you're not going to be able to do shit with that money.
Right.
How do I become a millionaire by the time I'm fucking 25? By the time I'm 30? by the time I'm 35. I'm not waiting till retirement. People wait till retirement because everyone's living in this scarcity mindset. You need to live in expansion, sales, all out. How do I make more money? How do I increase my income? Dude, it takes $377 a day to make six figures. There's 265 sales days in a year. That's $377 times 265 sales days in a year. That gives you 100 grand. Okay. Well, if you want to become a millionaire or you want to make six figures, boom, there you go. 377. Figure out how to do that. You want to become a millionaire? $3,770.
It's amazing. Again, keep in mind, sales training for podcasters community. This is the process that you go through. This is the process. Brandon is where his brain is going. It's not, oh my God, how do I get to the mountain? It's how do I take little bite-sized pieces? He's broken it down into a daily routine. He probably knows how many dials he needs to make. And what do you say to the people that are out there that aren't salespeople though, that want to be able to, I guess they're entrepreneurs, they're podcasters, they're whatever they are. How do you get to the next step from where you are right now? How do you change your mindset so that you put yourself in a position where you're like, it's just now just mini micro steps in order to get from where I am right now to success? Because it's not just about selling. Sometimes it's just about changing your mindset with everything that you do to take action items, small baby steps to get where you want to get to. So how do you even start? Where do you even begin in that process?
Yeah, I would say, I laid out great, and I'm not pitching the book, but whatever it takes, master the habits to transform your business relationships in life. This has got hundreds of secrets on how to change your mindset to get everything that you need to maximize your potential. Again, this is what I used. All of the secrets in here is what I used to sell over 100 million, build 2 8-figure companies, and acquire tens of thousands of customers. So I literally broke it down in that book. I wrote that book for everyone during COVID. I started writing this book the day after the governor shut down the state of Ohio, where I'm at. So literally the day he shut down the state, I'm like, everyone's going to be screwed. Everyone's going to be running in fear. Everyone's going to not be prepared for this thing. I ran 2 different companies during the financial crisis of 2007 to 2009. So I just knew what it would take, the habits, the mindset, the beliefs, the daily execution to be successful, and put it into that book. But what it comes down to is 2 more secrets here for this question. Where do people start? Number 1, we always underestimate the amount of time, effort, money, capital, energy, failure, tenacity that it will take to be successful. Let me give you an example. I wanted to get to like $10 million in sales in a month, like with my new company. And it took tens of months. Like it took almost 2 years to get to 8 figures. And I was projecting I'd be there in 3 to 6 months. Because I went from selling 100 million for IBM and Google, launching my own company, a SaaS company at Seamless. And I'm like, oh, dude, I'm going to get this thing to, $10 million in sales in less than 6 months. I was underestimating all the work, time, effort, capital. But luckily I knew that. So I always set my goal at, hey, I'm going to go for 100 million. I'm going to go for $1 billion. You want to set 3, 5, 10x goals and have a decade-long mindset. Like I told myself, I'm going to dedicate 10 years of my life to this thing, no matter what, all out. Because the reason why entrepreneurs, salespeople, marketers quit is because they won't go all in. Yeah. And they won't play the long game. They want to be like, hey, I'm going to do this thing for 3 to 6 months. I'm going to get rich. But the reality is you'll be poor for 1 to 3 years.
It's funny you say that. I remember starting our podcast, The Nice Guys on Business, and it literally took us 17 months to figure it out. 17 months of not making 1 cent from our podcast. And we're like, we know there's money in here. We just see it too much. There's too much of it around going on. Why are we not in it? And so for us, it just was a matter of making the decision that we were going to make money no matter what, like you said, whatever it takes. And we struggled for that 17-month period to try to figure it out. And that was, 4+ years ago. So now we're 6 years into this thing and we're like, oh, once we started turning the faucet on, the faucet stayed on. And so for us, it was like, oh, this is beautiful now that we got it. All right. So grossly underestimating the amount of time, energy, resources that it's going to take. Absolutely. I 100%.
Yeah. So your goal, I would 3 to 5x your goal and then divided by 265 days. That's the amount of sales days that are in a year. Don't use 365 because there's fucking 104 weekends. Then you've got holidays. It's just a ton of bullshit that squeezes more time, right? Your annual goal, that's 3 to 5x or 10x where you want to be. Divide that by 265. That gives you your daily sales goal. then reverse engineer the amount of appointments that it takes, and then reverse engineer the amount of lists, the contacts you name. And then lastly, like to sell anything to anyone, you need to have the list of people to sell to. And that's why I invented with my team, Seamless.ai. It's a search engine that finds every single person in the world that you need to sell to. We used all the same tech, very similar technology to what Sergey Brin and Larry used at Google and what IBM Watson team used at IBM. And we built our own AI search engine to help you get emails and cell phones for anyone in the world. And it starts with that big list, selling to that big list daily, repeatedly, no matter what.
I want to take a right turn here a little bit because I want to talk about your podcast, since this is a sales training for podcasters podcast. So we're talking specifically to people that are out there that have either launched podcasts or just about to launch a podcast. Why did you start it? Why did you get into it? What were some of your goals, and what's some of the stuff that you're still working on? We can take that in any order. So why'd you start your podcast?
So I started the podcast to launch our book, Sales Secrets. So this is so dumb of me. This is one of the dumbest mistakes that turned out good, but was really hard. That's another thing too, guys. Like, you'll make a lot of dumb decisions throughout everything you do, and you just got to roll with the punches. Like, I don't sweat it. I was like, okay, I'm going to write my first book. My first book is going to be an interview book where I interview everyone on podcasts. I transcribe those podcasts. They become chapters in the book, almost like Tim Ferriss' Tool Titans. Sounds great in theory, right?
Yep.
The fucking problem is you got to interview 30, 50, 100 people. Those interviews take 30 minutes to 2 hours, depending on the interview. Then you have to pay to transcribe it. Then you have to go and rewrite the chapter off the transcription. Then you have to get it edited. You have to get it proofed. So what this book, which I thought would be a 3-month book, took 400 hours and 2 years.
Wow.
While I was doing this podcast book, I wrote 2 books in between doing the podcast book.
I get it.
I launched this book to interview the top salespeople. Like, I wanted to interview and learn from the top salespeople who I studied my whole life.
Right.
So it was like, I want to learn from them and I want to share those insights with the world. And then secondly, I want to put it in a book. This is the hardest way to write a book. Don't do an interview book ever. It's the dumbest way. You could write a book on your own 10 times faster.
All right. So you started the podcast to write a book, and it ended up being a mistake because it was too much work to do it, but you did it because whatever it takes, right? So you adopted the attitude. What's your hope moving forward with your podcast now that you got the book in the can? Are you using it for relationships? Are you using it for selling? What are you using your podcast for?
Yeah, the podcast is used to maximize brand awareness, maximize like increased relationships. And ultimately, just our mission at Seamless.ai is to help the world connect opportunity and positively impact 1 billion people. So I want to interview people that have secrets that they could share about sales, about making more money today, that everyone can learn from and apply to maximize their success. And that's why we do the podcast. Right now, like, we don't sell sponsorships. We don't do any of that jazz. But that's mainly because we just don't know what we're doing. I haven't read or I haven't done whatever it takes to figure out the podcast monetization.
Well, it sounds like that wasn't your plan. It sounds like, I always tell people that we coach, there's 3 reasons people get into podcasting: build community, grow your influencer, to make money, which is your priority right now. And at some point, everybody has all 3 of those things as their goals, but you start with a priority. And in your case, it was probably to grow your community and influence as well. And now that you've 100%. Done that and you're working through that process, it's like, hey, maybe money is the next step in this process. And it is just a matter of making a decision and then working a plan, because right now you just don't have the strategy or the plan in place. And it's totally, from where we sit, it's like, oh, well, you're a sales guy. This would be great for you to use your podcast to generate big time income, which is possible. And it's not, if you're listening to the sales training.
How would you do that? You walk me through how I would do that.
So there's a handful of ways that you could do it and not even focus on your community. One way certainly would be called a guest to client strategy. And that would be to turn guests into clients. And that's just as simple as listening to their message with 2 ears. How can they best serve your community by sharing their message? And how can you best serve them by providing your products and services, whether it's sales training or whatever it is, to that guest? So I qualify people through a couple of different listening tools to determine whether they'd be a great fit for my community and a great fit for my client list. So
what listening tools do you use?
Well, it's just a pre-qualification. So my listening tools are when somebody says, hey, I don't know how to make money from my show. When somebody says, I don't have a strategy for my show.
I meant like online listening.
Oh, no. So you're coming from that world. So guest to client strategy is one. Relationships that you build in that guest seat, turning those guests into joint venture partners, turning those guests into affiliate relationships, selling your products or services to your community, whatever it is that you have, online courses. You're looking for trading time for dollars kind of environment. You want to trade an online thing that you have for.
Do you have an online class?
Yeah, exactly. So that's
I would rather do that than pay an agency. Like I would rather have like, hey, what's the course for building and growing a podcast?
Right.
Step by step, watch it on demand, get the coaching, like attend coaching classes, one to many, and boom, done, problem solved.
And that's the same thing with the products or services that you are offering, whether it's sales training or sales speaking or sales, whatever it is, your online coursework, that's the avenue. The problem with that avenue for those that are new in podcasting is that you need a community to listen to you in order for you to sell your services to anybody. So if you're going to sell online courses to a community of 5, it's going to be a lot more challenging than if you have a community of 5,000. So goal number 1 is really where you were heading, which is grow your influence, grow your community, and then you can introduce your products and services to the community. In the meantime, and you really, as JJ would do, and she is a co-host of this show as well, what she has done is she's created her own economy. So she's grown a community, and that ecosystem feeds on itself. She has a subscription base. She has a high-level program. She has online coursework. She has a whole bunch of things. So those are definitely avenues that you can go down as well.
Awesome.
Curious, hidden gifts, any hidden gifts that you've gotten from podcasting, something that you've gotten that you did not expect to get when you got into the podcasting space to begin with?
Dude, to interview all these experts is a gift. To interview Jeffrey Gitomer, Grant Cardone, Jordan Belfort from The Wolf of Wall Street, Jill Conrath, to interview all these people. Like
free coaching.
All these people is like is incredible.
Totally agree.
So that's a gift to me. Seeing the success stories from everyone about applying or learning what they've taken in from the shows is a gift. Like, I don't know, it's all a gift. And then I get to be on shows like this with you, which like I really enjoy the time that we've got right now to talk about the crazy shit going on in sales and entrepreneurship. To me, that's a gift. So it all plays together. I would just recommend like start your show. And then you got to build the list of the people that you need to sell, the sponsorship, the ads, the services to. It's a no-brainer.
Yep. Completely agree. Well, I so very much appreciate, Brandon, you being on the show today. And for those of you that are listening, you absolutely want to head over to the author page on Amazon that Brandon has, and it will give you access to his confidential sales secrets, whatever it takes, 7-figure social selling. It'll give you access to all of the books that he has out there on Amazon right now. I highly encourage you to, obviously, the dude knows what he's talking about. And I would tell you for sure that you want to connect with him in any way, shape, or form that you can. So, Brandon, thank you.
Hit me up on LinkedIn, and then the podcast, of course, Sales Secrets. So would love to connect with you and hope that our content helps you maximize your success. And then don't forget, join Seamless.ai for free. Just go to Seamless.ai. You'll get free emails and cell phones to anyone that you need to sell to. You'll get our daily newsletter and sales secrets every single day of the week.
Awesome. Well, Brandon, thank you so much for sharing your message, your inspiration, all you're about, man. I really appreciate your level of enthusiasm and your positive attitude. It's always refreshing to have this show because this show is generally where the positive people in the world of podcasting come as they're learning about sales training and sales tools. Thanks, Brandon, for being here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. Good luck. Crush it.
Thanks for listening to Sales Training for Podcasters. To get additional information and to access more amazing content that will boost your sales game, visit salestrainingforpodcasters.com. Hey, do us a favor. Rate and review our show on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Again, thanks for listening.